Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Carry On with Carrie podcast. Today I would like to introduce you to Raluca Sacalean. Raluca is a mother, wife, nature lover, plant hoarder, massage therapist, clairsentient, yoga teacher, and energy healer. The list goes on and on from there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here with you, Carrie.
Of course. I'm excited to have you here. I was lucky enough to meet you, I think it was the beginning or end of last year, beginning of this year. Yeah. I was lucky enough to be in one of your workshops about somatic therapy.
Yes, we did the giving and receiving and how we perceive that through the body.
Right. And can you explain a little? So first of all, I just wanted to touch on the fact that you have that you emigrated to Canada 8 years ago from Romania.
Yes, yeah. It seems a long time, but it's actually a very short time.
Right. It goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yes, and there is a lot of learning and lots of changes and figuring the system, figuring the culture, picking up everything I can from my kids. And if my English is not perfect, well, it is what it is. I try my best.
Yep. Well, it's great.
I'll always have an accent, and I got to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to roll my R's. My name starts with an R.
Can you say your name?
Raluca.
Okay.
And I've been called many times Dracula. And I also have a joke about it.
Okay.
I know I'm coming from Dracula's country.
Uh-huh.
And it's very easy to call me Dracula if you add the D in front of my name.
I never even thought of that.
But my name is Raluca.
Raluca. Did I say it wrong?
No.
Okay. Now I'm rethinking what I said. Okay. Well, it's a beautiful name, and your accent is beautiful as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you here. I wanted to start off with a little bit about what you do and what brought you to what you bring to others right now with somatic therapy. The list goes on, like we said, massage therapy and Reiki, all of the healing aspects.
I was just talking with my husband today. I was like, how did I got here? And honestly, I think I was guided. There are many things that happen through my journey, but I am so in touch and in such alignment with my planets and my soul path. It is just mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. I had a session with an astrologist, and in 2-hour session she told me everything that happened through my life, and I was like, wow. Can you from the fact that even my dad was working away to how my mom was. And I was like, can you just see this in my planets?
Right? I know.
And I told my husband, I'm in shock. I'm in such an alignment. I don't know how to say it. Mm-hmm. I just follow the nudges, and I am deeply connected with the moon, and I didn't even realize how deeply connected I am with the moon. And now, because we are in Canada, I am deeply connected with the Northern Lights. So I know ahead of time when the Northern Lights are happening, because I don't have insomnia, but I cannot sleep.
Right.
And the moment they drop in intensity, when I can't fall asleep. Mm-hmm. And I have so much joy and vibration happening in my body when the Northern Lights are happening. It is amazing.
Yeah. And is this just something that you've observed over time or researched to find out?
No, I just observed over time.
Okay.
I just observed.
So that leads me to, we were talking before we got on here about Clairsentient.
Yes.
A term that I actually had to look up, because we often talk about clairvoyance and all of those things and sensitivities to things. How can you explain what a clairsentient is?
The way I feel it, I think every person is very aware of their six senses, and we all have it. So the way we use them, it's based on each person, and I have my own. I like to create those almost like dictionaries of symptoms and how I experience things, and I do that also in my therapy. I ask my clients, all of them, what this particular thing means to you.
Right.
Because I can come with the definition from the dictionary, but it might not apply to you. So then what does it mean to you? It's very important. And clairsentient to me means feeling other people's emotions into my body. I know if I meet someone and my liver starts to ache, and I almost have like those knife kind of wounds, or I feel sharp,
like sharp pains.
I know it's related to anger. If I have a knot somewhere in my back, that's usually related to a lot of sadness.
Okay.
And also the sadness show up an ache, a dull ache in my sacrum. So, and then I ask. You know, it's very easy to ask. I do not assume that just because I feel it, it's also relevant to you.
Right. Now, how did you find yourself getting in touch with that and actually accepting the fact that those were, like, originally, how did that present itself?
Originally presented as a long 8 years of pain.
Okay, so you were experiencing things but didn't know how to explain it.
Yes, and I had no idea how it's happening, why it's happening, why am I able to do that, how am I able to do that. There is not a lot of information out there, I find, about how we experience things. Like anxiety, sometimes I feel it in my throat or show up as a cough.
Right.
And when we had COVID, when there was COVID happening, my daughter calls me from school and she said, I need you to come pick me up, my throat is killing me. I was like, okay, fine, sure. She comes home, no more throat pain. It's like, well, you already said you have throat pain, we cannot go back to school without you being tested. So everything was fine, no other symptoms for her. And we walk in the testing center, and then she turns back towards me, and I already was creating this bubble around me of protection, because right away I got in there, kids were crying, everyone was so agitated, and I could feel it in my throat. I was like, oh my God, the anxiety in this place, it's off the roof. And she turns towards me, she looks at me, and she said, my throat is killing me again. I'm like, okay, just put your head into my chest, and we're in this bubble of protection. And that moment I knew she doesn't have COVID.
Ah, okay.
And it was just anxiety. She was just speaking up on the anxiety at school, and now it was very clear to me that she was speaking up on the anxiety at the place.
Right.
So how many times, we think we have something physically, but it is based on emotions.
Right, emotions, which is an energy that it makes sense.
Yes.
So how can that, again, so I was saying that when I read before, because I read that you were a clairsentient, and I had to figure out, well, what is this? And I've always been told I'm extra sensitive. I know I am. It's just, but why am I this way? And it's something that I've never been able to understand, as far as you mentioned, just picking up on other people's feelings, dreams that are very vivid, all of these things. And how can that lead to anxiety and mental, exhaustion, all of those things, or being an introvert even?
Yes, I think if you're told all the time, oh, you're too sensitive, oh, you're too sensitive, and your body is telling you something else, your body is sending you some signals, then you think, oh, something's wrong with me, I'm weird. And then you feel unsupported, you feel unheard, you feel sad. You know, what's wrong with you? There is nothing wrong with you. We just have a different way of being.
Right.
You know, if a medium is clairvoyant and they say, I see this, I'm not going to go to a medium and say, well, I don't see it, I don't believe you.
Right.
But it's very easy to say that. I don't see it, I don't believe you, right? So, and I think in the past, our parents or grandparents, maybe they were not aware, or they didn't have anyone around them to experience those things, so there was no way of supporting us. And learning how to support ourselves and going down the rabbit hole. I think that's what I did. I was trying to figure out so much why and how, and then the more you work on yourself, the more things are expanding, and you want to know more and want to know more, and then you realize that, oh, I don't actually know anything.
Right. Yes. And so we begin.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You feel like you know nothing. Yes.
So now, and that leads to trauma. So we spoke about trauma and how it can be trapped in your body. How, with somatic therapy, can you explain a little bit about what that is and how it pertains to?
So somatic therapy is a big umbrella term.
Okay.
I find there are different practices, different theories, different trainings that take care of somatic therapy. And all of them have the main theme that the body holds information, the wisdom, all the trauma, all the events. I consider the body being an encyclopedia of our past events and the way we responded or reacted to those events. And I really like to think of it as, you can think of it as a book, or you can think of it as a tapestry. So which one fits for every person? Soma means of the body, through the body.
Okay.
It is a Greek term. And what I'm trained in, it's actually somatic psychotherapy.
Okay.
And I'm trained with Bodydynamic International Institute, which believes that the development of human personality doesn't stop when you're 7 years old. And it starts before birth and continues throughout the life. So if you're curious and want to change, I truly believe every person has the capacity to change their thoughts, to change their behavior, to change even their biology, and any outcome of almost any disease out there. 95% of the diseases out there, we think they are genetic. They're actually not. They're based on our environment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, so the trauma-based, so when we talked about, I just want to put them kind of together, the clairsentient and the somatic. You said it, so you're holding on to trauma, and that could also be a trauma response.
Oh, the clairsentient could be a trauma response. The way you're hyper aware of everything that's going on around you.
Right.
And in last module I had, we touched a little bit on that, and I had to sit in my chair and figure out what am I paying attention to in my classroom. I know all my colleagues, I feel pretty safe with them, but the question was like, what am I actually focusing on the first time I sit here in front of my colleagues? And I was looking of how everyone in the room feels.
Right.
to know if I'm safe or not.
Yes. And when you said that, it just made so much sense.
Yes, and it was like, okay, so where in my life I haven't been safe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Until 2020, if you would have asked me if I have, no, 2018, if you would have asked me if I have trauma, I would have said no.
Yeah.
I have no trauma. And then when I started digging deeper, I remember my first somatic session, and they keep asking me, what do you feel? And I was just giving them sentiments, but no emotions,
Mm-hmm.
no emotions. And then I was like, okay, I can tell you what I sense. I can tell you what I sense in my body.
Yeah.
And I'm very good at that.
Yeah,
I
you
can,
know all of this.
I
Yeah.
can track it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And it made so much sense to me. And I am a very good tracker. I can sit in front of someone can walk in front of me, and I don't hear the discussion.
Yeah.
If there are two people walking in front of me, I don't hear the discussion, and I could see their body moving. And I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
She doesn't like something, or he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
something. I can see it. And my husband is like, we are going for a walk for ourselves, not for the other people. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try my best
Yes.
to stay with myself, not
Yeah.
with other people.
Right.
But it's hard.
It really
is
is.
really hard to get into yourself and to figure out what do you want in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And almost like focus on yourself, and without being, focusing on ourselves is not selfish. It is a way of discovering how we're gonna react next.
Right.
And being aware of this internal dialogue. Like today before coming here, I was just reading few things, and I drop my notebook down and I say to my husband, my body's telling me you got this.
Yes.
And he looked at me, and then my mind is telling me, you should be worried. You should be worried. People are gonna listen to you. And I choose to stay with my body.
Yes. Okay.
It is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times throughout our childhood we unconsciously been taught not to listen to our body.
Right.
And it's we'll think I am a parent, and I'm guilty of that, or not even guilty. I created that environment for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You should eat everything.
Yes.
Because it's a simple example. It's a basic example.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you should eat everything. And they say, no, I'm not hungry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't listen.
No.
And I made a decision through all my practices to allow my kids to eat as much as they need, and really focus on their own body and their own needs. I don't know if it's an expectation, but maybe it is. The only thing I require is for us to sit at the table together.
Right.
And if you don't want to eat, don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to drink, just drink. I believe they know better what they need.
They can feel their own.
Yes.
Yes.
I give them the chance, and I ask them, what do you think you need? And I have two very different kids in terms of food, and
Mm-hmm.
one doesn't like meat. And not that he doesn't like meat, he's eating meat almost like every 2 weeks.
Right.
He has a day where he wants a lot of meat, and then he goes into this period of I just need vegetables.
Yes. So you're reading your body that you might need more iron at that time, or
Whatever
Yeah.
he needs,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to offer him that choice. It's a choice you have to make for yourself.
Mhm. And then the resistance isn't there either. Do you find? I find sometimes when we limit them to what we believe, then that's when that resistance comes, and
Yes, more
disharmony.
more conflict, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because I don't want this, and you want me to eat this, and
Mhm.
and sometimes I recognize I'm tired and I say, well, I'm tired, I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
What if you take over? Take over breakfast in the morning. You prepare your breakfast, and I give them mental days. If they're not good to go to school and they ask for a mental day, they're allowed to have a mental day.
Yep.
And we talk about how is it for mom to have a mental day.
Yes. What does it mean for you?
And I had one morning where I don't even remember what my daughter wanted for me, and I said, do you know when you ask for a mental day and you just wanted to stay in bed? And she said, yes, this is how I feel this morning.
Right.
Oh, okay, mom, I'm gonna, and she took her backpack and she put her water and
Mm-hmm.
prepared everything, and it was so nice.
Yes.
It
And see,
was
if we
so nice.
normalize that instead of pushing ourselves to that limit, and there are the days, and I know for myself, I will say to my kids, if they don't understand it, I just need to rest today. Or, I didn't used to be able to verbalize it in that way.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm, they're all grown up and now I can explain it. But it's good to hear, and that's the thing is if there's any young moms listening to this, it's okay to give yourself that time and that break.
It's okay to give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
And I do give myself, I create those permission slips, and I give myself permission to rest, and I give myself permission to be angry, and I give myself permission to talk with my kids, and I give myself permission to allow my kids to talk back to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And then, because they have voices too.
Yes.
It's not about disrespecting each other, but they also have a voice.
Yes, it's finding a way to help each other grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard for us as a generation that's looking more towards healing. And we all come from so many backgrounds, and maybe we don't have role models.
Right.
So my teacher says 25% repair. So if I am okay, if I'm 25% better than my parents were, then, and my daughter is 25% better than I am,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm good with that.
Right.
I'm good with that. And then we create this environment of compassion
Mm-hmm.
for each other.
Right. Which is I wish there was a way to teach compassion better. And I guess you've just said that, if you can teach your children the compassion for other people without the trauma, because
Yes.
oftentimes with trauma, I believe, comes the compassion. So if we can, is there a way to flip that?
I think yes, no judgment,
Yes.
no assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You don't know. It's very simple, but it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And first you need to observe yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you read the text, the moment you read or you hear the news or everything that's going on in your life, how many times do you put that filter of no assumption, I'm not assuming anything, and no judgment?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. Sometimes we judge ourselves so harshly that we don't even think we're judging everyone around us.
Right, because that's kind of what you're doing at the same time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And is that the mirroring?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as far as so what you help people with, the somatic therapy, when I was in the workshop, there was one experience that I can remember, and tell me if I've got it right or not, but the trusting of somebody through leaning into people and using your body to
discover.
Okay.
To discover how you perceive trust in others.
Right.
And what I teach people is to sense in their body what it means for me to trust,
Mm-hmm.
and what's my perception about trust, and visualize someone in front of you, or even visualize the word trust. And trust goes developmentally goes very far, close to, it starts, we learn trust in the womb, and I have some theories, and I think it's very important to trust in our own body, and the difference between trusting in our own body and trusting others around us. So when was that trust disrupted? There was a rupture, and we learn trust with our parents, with our caregivers. And if the parent is going through depression or major loss, or how is that going to affect the child's trust?
Right.
And we have to discover. It's not the recipe for everyone.
Right.
It's not. So the only way is to explore what it means trust for you. And is it easier to keep people at arm length, or you think you're allowing them in?
Right. You think deep down, oh, well, I'm open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what does it mean to be open? And there are some muscles that can show us, are we really open? And how does it feel for you if I'm saying, okay, Carrie, I'm gonna be behind you, and can you allow me to be here and support you? And then observe what's going on in your body.
Right.
Are you contracting? Are you feeling tension anywhere? Do you feel your shoulders shrugging? I don't know.
Right.
It's gonna be different for every person out there. It's just an exploration, and I think that's the part I love the most about somatic therapy, because it doesn't tell me you should feel this way. Well, let me explore how I feel, and then I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it. Because,
right.
You might want to scream for something very small, or you might want to have huge laughter for something
right
small, and then it doesn't mean there is something wrong with that reaction.
Right. So it's not judging either here nor there, whether or not you're trusting at a certain level than somebody else.
Yes.
You know?
The reaction just is. So let's work with, okay, and how do you feel towards this reaction? Are you scared of it? Are you familiar with it? Is there something new about it? What information it's giving you?
Right. So when somebody is honest, or when you get somebody to start opening up about those feelings, and you kind of take them through, are you feeling tension in certain places?
I'm observing.
Okay.
And I ask questions.
Right.
Right.
And then through that, what do you see change in somebody as they start to become aware of those things?
Well, awareness is key, right? Because then you observe, and then I send them, I say, okay, we work on this particular theme, and I want you to find one person to practice it with at home. In somatic therapy, in somatic psychotherapy, we talk a lot about how you need someone to help you regulate. And that was the mother in our childhood. The child cannot regulate itself, so we need the mother to regulate the child.
Right.
So now if there was later on an emotional rupture in the child's development, we also need the repair. You also need a positive experience.
Right.
And that's so beautiful, knowing that I can choose in this moment to have this experience, and the outcome is going to be positive. And it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
And how you have the power to change that experience, or your perception of experiences.
Yes.
Is that kind of by awareness?
Yes, by
in
awareness
that
and the feelings you get in the body, right? For example, I have a lot of group trauma from school.
Okay.
Because I grew up in a communist country.
Right.
And there was a lot of humiliation, and how am I going to show up in front of my teachers? So I went in my classroom knowing that I will have a response. I will have a gut feeling. I might get just blank, might not be able to talk.
Right. All of the things.
All of the things.
Yes.
Right. And I chose because I knew that I'm there for healing. I took responsibility, and I wanted to change my experience. So I showed up, and I said to my teacher, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to try my best to present on this subject and see what's happening. And then it was hard to even receive my colleagues saying, good job.
Yeah, right? It's yeah.
But we don't look at those things, and then that's how you function in the world.
Right. And moving forward, and even for instance tonight, before we started this, I did a couple takes, and we started banging our feet, and you said ground yourself, and what a difference that made.
Yes.
Trusting
that you're supported, and whatever comes from, and I know, people will judge whatever it is. Just I ask everyone to be open to a new perspective, maybe.
And that's why I've started this, to open up a perspective that maybe others that haven't been able to figure out, what's the best way for them to start healing, or just to be in touch with themselves more. I just find this fascinating that we can open that up to, even if it's just one person that hears it.
Well, but how can we open others people's perspective if we are not flexible and open our own perspective? And I think there is a book, I think it's called Fifth Agreement, which asks of us to question everything we know. And that change, and it's still changing a lot of my thoughts, and a lot of how attached I am to this idea. How attached I am that I can only believe if I see.
Right. Yes.
Not help if you don't show up. And I've been pushed to show up, but it was very hard due to my trauma, or due to my experience. And I know that there might be a little girl or someone that's having exactly the same questions like you had. What's clairsentient? What am I doing with my vivid dreams? What am I doing with, those experiences, those sensations that I have in my body? What am I doing with my body altogether? And if we're as guides, we do not show up to talk about it. And it has to be a discussion, not I know it better than. I think the way the technology goes, in 5 years from now, probably what we know now is going to be 1% of what we know in I don't know how many years. It doesn't mean that we are wrong now. We just don't know it all.
Yes, we haven't figured that out yet.
Yes, and we're just evolving. So from this place, space, energy, how can we show up and help others? And I'm willing to explore and also show up for myself.
And that's
and then have a positive experience of showing up and not knowing it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that.
And that's amazing. This has been amazing, really, and I can't thank you enough. It's been such a wonderful experience, despite some of the things that have gone up and down here. But
all of those things are little technology things, and I'm not gonna stop. Hang on to them. It's it's really nothing.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was a great experience for me, and I really felt safe.
Okay, good.
And that's the most important thing.
100%. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So check out
From
Raluca.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart for sure.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay.